Hello, YouTube, and welcome to Behind the Wall, presented by Perky Jerky, the show where everything is made up and the views don't matter, just like the VHT this weekend. As always, I'm Thermite917, along with my two good friends. One is an obnoxious Dale Jr. fan who struggled in many of our NASCAR 15 league races, and the other is Kane Jr. 88.
I knew that joke was coming.
We have a great show for you once again. We're going to quickly summarize the race at New Hampshire, emphasis on quickly. Then we'll give our race ratings and discuss a topic or two relating to the race weekend. After that, it's on to the awards, which are always fun. Then paint schemes, if we really have any. Then fantasy. Sounds simple enough, right? So let's get started. Middleburg, what happened this weekend at New Hampshire?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, Sir Thermitis. You know, if we want to go further into sucking league races, we'll talk about your regular season and chase statistics. But we won't do that because we're here to talk about the Overton's 301 at New Hampshire. And it was a rather dull one. Martin Truex Jr. won the first stage. Well, that's a familiar sight because he's won 14 of them now. And shut the fuck up, Clayton Hughes. We already know. Besides that, there were a couple yellows, some racing. Cars went around the racetrack, you know. That's what they do. They have engines and they turn in circles, 4 corners, to the left. And there was this sticky shit on the racetrack this weekend, which we all thought was going to make a huge difference. But it really didn't. It just, man, the good cars were up there, and just everybody was kind of spread out at some points. And I mean, while the race itself wasn't entirely dominated by one person, it just still felt like, well, what's that classic saying? Clean air is king. And it was. That's really all there was. Even at New Hampshire. Yeah, exactly. Even at New Hampshire, it doesn't matter. So that's pretty much the general analysis of the race itself. All those things boiled down to Denny Hamlin getting his first win of the season, and the first win for Joe Gibbs Racing of the season. Kane's very fond of that, as you've just heard. Anyhow, Denny Hamlin did win, and I really don't have anything else exciting to say about it. So we're just going to go straight into race ratings. Kane, since you really haven't talked yet, I'll let you be the first to give a race rating. There's the beer.
I only have one thing to say. That race sucked. And normally I wouldn't do this. But I'm going to do it for the first time this year. I'm going to give a big, fat 0.
Whoo!
That was a terrible race. I honestly thought the VHT would make a difference, and, well, it didn't. And what did it result in? It resulted in JGR and those goddamn Toyotas getting their first win of the season. God.
Tell us what you really think.
Yeah, exactly. Kane has some very strong feelings about this, obviously. So we'll take that, and we'll move on to Nick. So Nick, give us a race rating.
Oh man, I don't know if I can give a 0 unless it's like rain delayed and canceled altogether. But I'll go with a 3 because this was not a great race. I think that's my lowest rating of the season. There really wasn't like a single thing where I was like jumping out of my chair going, wow, look at this! So, that's all I can say. Tyler.
Well, I mean, somebody's got to do it because Fox ain't calling the races anymore.
Yeah, well, there were no wow problems.
Yeah,
God damn it, Rick Allen!
Yes! God damn it, Rick Allen!
Damn it, Rick Allen! You piss me off
God damn it, Rick Allen!
Oh, he pisses me right off. That's the only thing I
We talk about us not knowing how to talk. Look at him.
I know. Oof. His pure existence in the booth during Cup races absolutely pisses me off.
Somebody tell him to go back to trucks and ARCA. He was more enjoyable there.
They already ruined him, though. Like, I don't think he can be good anymore.
He's tainted
I was
goods,
gonna
man.
say, yeah, he is tainted goods.
My race rating, I am going to give it a 3.5. So typically I would be on the lower end of you guys, but this week I'll be the higher score. While I didn't want to shoot myself over this race, it still was a rather demoralizing one. There was only a couple of real moments where it was like kind of cool. There was one time there was a hell of a battle, about a 5-car battle for 10th. Dale Jr., Daniel Suarez, just to name a couple, were involved in that. That was pretty tense racing. It was like almost 4 wide at one point. But that lasted for about 3 laps, and again, it was for 10th. There was also like a couple passes for the lead, a couple crossovers, kind of cool. But that's really it. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and judge my race rating on lack of crashes or shit like that. At least there was no real stupidity. There was no dumb cautions. Everything seemed legitimate. It just was a dull race, man. That's really all there is. I'm not going to be Kane and just be JGR Toyota biased, but it just wasn't anything to get excited about. It was a forgettable one. So we move on.
All right, and now we have a topic that relates to the race weekend, and this week we're going to take the great example from Xfinity and Ryan Preece and talk about talent versus equipment, and either drivers buying their rides or just their money in general.
This is a interesting subject because there's always discussions among race fans who constantly get things incorrect. And one of the basic phrases of disliking people is like, oh, this guy sucks because they finished poorly. It's kind of like saying Landon Castle sucks. No, Landon Castle doesn't suck. Landon Castle drives for Front Row Motorsports, who is an underfunded team. They don't have the resources that the big dogs have, and naturally they're slower, kind of like BK Racing, Premium Motorsports. JTG Doherty is not that great either, but there's just many examples. You need to have an entire package. There's so much that goes into winning a race and being competitive. If you don't have the car, the equipment, the motor, the setup, the chassis, the crew chief, the driver, it's not usually going to work. There's so many factors that goes into it, and I think that is often misplaced in the minds and opinions of fans. They don't understand it, and I can be guilty of it. We were all guilty of it at some point, I'm sure. I just really wish more people understood that.
I totally agree. I mean, it's kind of hard to put into words exactly how I feel about it, but I think Tyler does bring up a good point. It's a tough subject to talk about because obviously the biggest example is Joe Gibbs Racing as well as Toyota. I mean, all the big Toyota teams, no matter who's behind the wheel, they do good every week. Even somebody who has like no experience at a certain level, like Daniel Suarez. I mean, he finished 6th today, and this was literally his first Cup race at New Hampshire. Now, part of that was probably luck as well as pit strategy, but overall the Gibbs guys were fast today, and they were obviously on Saturday in the Xfinity race with not just Kyle but also Ryan Preece, like we just talked about, and same thing can be said about KBM and the trucks. Obviously, it's not all about equipment. I mean, hell, look at our dear friend Cody Coughlin. I mean, he couldn't get it done in a KBM truck, but guys like Eric Jones, Christopher Bell, they can, and part of that, obviously, it's mostly equipment, but it's also partly because they have talent behind the wheel, and I mean, that's obviously what Kyle looks for his drivers, and it pays off in dividends.
Well, I mean, sometimes people say, well, he's only getting good finishes because he's driving for Joe Gibbs. Well, yeah. I mean, but you have to have the talent as well to do it. And that's kind of what Ryan Preece showed, where, he just got the opportunity to be in a good car, But like Kane's Cody Coughlin example, you still have to have the talent to drive up there and make no mistakes. So, and then that adds to what Tyler said. You have to have the entire package. It's not just the driver. It's not just the car. It's just everything has to go right because NASCAR is just that competitive.
Absolutely. I mean, look at a couple of years ago, 2015. Remember when Ryan Preece drove the shitbox 98 car for Phil Parsons /
No.
Premium Motorsports? Yeah, exactly. You don't, because he was terrible. I mean, obviously Preece is a talented driver, as we saw Saturday, but back then, I mean, obviously he was getting poor finishes, and that's all because he had shitty equipment under him.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be a talented driver and drive and still run like crap if you drive for a crap team. Pretty much the gist of it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it kind of like it almost expands into something else too. There's a lot of drivers that end up in obscurity because of this particular reason. As you just mentioned with the Ryan Preece, nobody even remembers he was in a damn cup ride. You don't even remember that he ran a full season in Xfinity either, because he ran for JD Motorsports, which is also an underfunded team. He ran all 33 races, finished 17th in points, won top 10 on the season at Darlington with a 10th. He comes in a JGR car, one race, hadn't run all season, and finishes second. That's just a clear-cut example of how, if you have the talent and you get put with a ride that is capable of it, you can do it. And that team, the 20 team, is the second best team in Xfinity, behind the 18. They are established. They have the crew chief. They have the crew. They have the equipment. They have everything. And obviously the setup was good enough on a track that Ryan Preece is familiar with, as he just got done running 2 Whelen modified races. Everything just went right for him. He had a clean race, and he did what he needed to do. And if that all goes together, those results will come. It almost looked simple, because it was just easy. He hopped in the damn car and he did his job, and that's great. Expanding on the whole pay driver thing, Ryan Preece was a pay driver because he bought that ride. And just like many drivers do. Kind of like Cody Coughlin, kind of like Paul Menard, who all bring sponsorship to the table.
Michael
Annett, yes, another great example. And I think a thing with Michael Annett is that team is new, and they're behind the 8 ball. But you would think at some point they would start picking it up. And yet halfway through their Xfinity season, they really haven't. You see it every week in qualifying and in the race. They're literally 10 spots behind everybody else. And a team would work together. They all work together. They share setups. They share shit. But they just can't get it done.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a lot of people, going along with the money thing, where it's like, well, they have daddy's money, like Cody Coughlin, Paul Menard, stuff like that, or Ryan Preece brought his sponsorship. But you have to make it in this sport. I mean, it costs a lot to race. You have to have the talent on top of it, but you still, money is just a huge part of the deal. Obviously, Cody Coughlin and the Austin and the Dillons, they had to have some talent, or else, their grandpa wouldn't be like, hey, want to, get in this car and waste my money. And they're still there for a reason. It's just people think that's the only reason is because they have money. But like I said before, NASCAR's just so competitive, they still have to have the talent. It's not like, I can get in a car right now because I have $1 million and finish 5th. That's not how it's going to work. I have to have the talent on top of it.
Right, and it's also, I just thought of this right on the spot. It also is it expands on it, where people that don't like NASCAR that just think it's so damn easy to drive in a fucking circle. Don't give me that shit. It's not.
Don't even go there.
Yeah, it's not.
You literally just described pretty much the entire Chicagoland area when it comes to NASCAR.
Well, they're a bunch of dweebs.
Have you met everyone in Chicago?
No, but that's pretty much what a majority of people think.
And don't go outside. Bottom line is there's always going to be like this double standard with drivers and not performing and this and that and like results compared to equipment and all sorts of shit. And it's just at the end of the day, it's a competition and it's a business. That's really what it comes down to. And if you have the money, you're going to be in it and involved. And if you have a lot of money, you're probably going to be competitive.
Yeah. Yeah, you still got to capitalize on it, but like you nailed it.
Okay, now it's time to hand out some awards for the New Hampshire race weekend. And the boner of the week is back. We're going to lead off with a big old boner. Who is it, Nick?
The boner goes to Dylan Lupton for Xfinity qualifying. He pulled a big old glitch spin, just like Middleburg likes to do in the league races. He was just kind of cruising off of turn 2, and the car snapped around on him, and he slammed into the inside wall. I don't even know, did he make the race?
Did he?
Sorry. I don't know. Who cares? It's Dylan Lupton. Kane, next award.
Okay. Our next award is Dear Mother Nature, Part 3. And the Xfinity race, if you saw that, was put under a pretty lengthy rain delay for most of the day. And Xfinity Series has been either delayed or postponed by goddamn Mother Nature.
Dear Mother Nature.
Dear Mother Nature.
Goddamn Mother Nature. God. This is really getting tiring. I mean, look, I get it. Mother Nature is not a NASCAR fan. There's no need to piss all over us. There's no need to piss all over us like that.
Yes.
Are you done?
Yes, I'm done. Next award, please.
The next award is Declan Dicker. And that goes to the 42 team. Chad Johnston, the normal crew chief for Kyle Larson, was suspended this week. Suck it, bitch. And that's not knocking Kyle Larson at all. I just think Chad Johnston's a huge pussy. Anyhow, Tony Lunders was the interim crew chief. I'll pause a moment so you can Wikipedia him and then not find a Wikipedia page because nobody knows who the fuck that is. But they dick with the Deckleds somehow during qualifying. They won the pole. They passed inspection. They go out, win the damn pole, and then their time's disallowed because something was wrong with the Decklid. So something changed between the first inspection and the second one. So what'd you guys do? Quit being Decklid dickers. Next award.
Next award is Jumpin' Jimmy. And that goes to Jimmy Johnson because he clearly jumped the initial start of the Cup race. Like, it wasn't even close. He jumped it by like a half car length. And the rule is no matter what, you can't beat the leader to the line on the initial start. So Jimmy was black flagged, and that pretty much took him out of the running for quite a while until the end. But he did stay on the lead lap. So at least he had that going for him. But, I mean, the funny part is, Jimmy's like, what did I do? And Chad Canals is like, I don't know, they're just black flagging you. I mean, really? You didn't know you jumped it? Next award.
Alright, our next award is Speedy KB. And as the name suggests, it goes to Dickface Kyle Busch for speeding not once, but 2 straight times on the last 2 pit stops of the race. He sped on pit road under the final green flag stop of the day. It was actually the first green flag stop. Lost several positions, made it all back up, only to lose it again on the final stop under the final caution of the race by speeding both times. God damn it, Kyle. You're way better than this. Come on. This cannot be Goodyear's fault, all right?
Next award, please.
Anyways, next award.
The next award is, like, how? And that goes to Daniel Suarez for somehow finishing 6th, even though he was like a 17th place car for most of the race. But that's the Suarez way. He isn't that great in practice. He isn't that great for the first half of the race, but he seems to always find a way to get a top 10 or at least somewhere close to it. So for a rookie, for never racing in Cup before, that's pretty darn impressive. So congrats to Suarez for making a good ending out of it. Next award.
Next award is Speed Plus TLZ. And that goes to Hendrick Motorsports as an entirety. Today was another classic example of how this team just somehow doesn't have speed. They're mediocre, okay? Sure, they're still a top 10 and they'll sneak into top 5 here and there, but man, they're just lacking pace. Ultimately, they were all about equal today. Jimmy Johnson, Chase Elliott, Dale Jr., and Casey Kane all could have easily finished around like 8th to 12th, really. But Jimmy ended up coming home as the top finisher at 10th place. He faded late. He was actually running higher than that. Chase Elliott just never really got track position back. Or he just couldn't get it at all, really. Dale Jr., they took a huge gamble because they have to win and just didn't work out for him. And then Casey Kane, oh my goodness. I just feel so bad for him. Like, he was running top of the stable for a little while. The next thing you know, it was just like his car went to hell and didn't want to come back. Like, he was way off the pace. But the point is, this is not new. They've been struggling really for a year and a half. Almost 2 years, really. I don't care if Jimmy Johnson just won the championship. I don't care if Jimmy Johnson has 3 wins on the year. Jimmy Johnson has 3 top 5s on the year. They just all conveniently happen to be wins. Just because of the situations he was put in. I'm not saying he didn't earn them. I'm just saying that they have not been, like, dominant, really, in any way. So, get some speed, Hendrick. It's getting old. Next award.
All right, our next award is our first of 2 cigar awards, and our first one, well, it goes to Ryan Preece. We discussed earlier how he finished second in Saturday's Xfinity race. Now, of course, he was driving for Joe Gibbs Racing, and like we said, he had probably the best equipment underneath him, but it's still impressive nonetheless to see him finish second in what is slated to be the first of only 2 races that he is running this year for JGR. And of course it is New Hampshire, which he does run a lot in the modified ranks. But it's impressive enough. So cigar for Ryan. Or a Ryan, I should say. There's like a million Ryans in NASCAR.
But we have another cigar award to give out, and that cigar award goes to Denny Hamlin. Pretty simple. He got his first win of the year. And it really didn't look like it was going to be him being the first JGR win of the season. Hell, Matt Kenseth looked like he was going to get in there and get the win. Kyle Busch was up there. He led some laps, I'm sure. He even won a stage. Exactly. See? He won a stage. And, yeah, it didn't look like it was going to be Hamlin at all, but he snuck right in there and got another damn win at New Hampshire. So they've secured their playoff spot, and they've got some momentum going forward, so you have to give him a cigar. Enjoy it, Danny.
And we also know he's scared of lobster.
Yeah.
No, that's Denny. He's a pussy. He's a fan of pussy, but he kind of acts like a pussy. I support the first thing, not the second.
Next award.
All right, our next award, well, it is the crying towel. And it's the big one. And it goes to NASCAR. Because the VHT, well, guess what? It didn't work. And you know what? It still was. They thought it was going to be a great race. But it was still a complete shitfest. They thought the VHT was going to make a huge difference. Well, guess what? It did! Clean air was still king! And once again, New Hampshire proves to be one of the most boring tracks on the schedule. I mean, look, I'm gonna be honest. There's only one thing I like about New Hampshire, and that is the fans. They absolutely love NASCAR. Especially all the fans that travel up from Canada. I mean, that's literally half the grandstands in New Hampshire are folks from Canada, and they're crazy about the sport. Anybody in New England is. But damn it, why you gotta make them suffer? Why you gotta do that, NASCAR? It's not fair! Oh my God!
And another classic crying towel from Kane Jr. 88. Nice job, buddy.
Yeah.
Good job. All right, and it is now that time for paint schemes. There were really none that impressed us all that much, so we're just going to skip that part and move right on to the worst. And this week, it goes to a car that it looks pretty good at first glance, but then you look closer and you're like, oh my god, what did they do? And that is Martin Truex Jr.'s Wix paint scheme.
Wix!
Wix!
And this car has so many issues with it once you look closer. First of all, the one that really stands out is all the freaking little faded gray Wix logos all around the car. They're not even like parallel. They're just like wherever they feel like it. That just pisses me off right there. They're just trying to fill space and it doesn't work. The colors look fine. I like that yellow, and it works well with the gray, the dark gray, the black, whatever you want to call it. And but the yellow stops in some weird places. First of all, it looks nice around the front. Then it just kind of gives up around the Monster logo, and then you have on the A pillar just some yellow, just because they want to, and that kind of goes all the way to the back window. And I don't know why. Do you know why? Does anyone know why?
Nobody knows why. The only thing I know is there's a ficus with our names written on it.
And
Yeah.
it's in Colorado.
Which means it may possibly be a marijuana plant.
ficus.
Yeah.
Marijuana ficus.
Yeah.
That's a fucking good one right there. So they're
Yeah,
getting
which means not only will we be pissing on it, we'd be getting high at the same time.
our,
Yeah.
our sudsy piss will allow the marijuana odor into the air.
We'll have to be sure to bring Damani with.
Damani
Yeah.
will love that. And I'm sure
Yes.
he'll piss on this car as well.
Yeah.
The only other thing I want to say about this thing, I didn't like the number placement on the left side. It just seemed too awkwardly low for me. But that's the Furniture Row way. So, whatever.
Whatever.
Whatever. Car sucks.
Car sucks. That's it, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much. It's now time for fantasy, so let's recap the New Hampshire selections. And I come home with the overall win after sucking ass for a little while. I made a bold move by picking Denny Hamlin, and Denny Hamlin won the race. What do you figure? So he gets me 51 points. Kane comes home in second with 46 points by taking Matt Kenseth, who finished the race in fourth. Nick comes home in third with 45 points, even though Kyle Larson, his pick, finished second. So stage points, they always make a difference, and things can be shuffled up. And then, but poor old Damani. He picked Brad Keselowski. Seemed like a decent pick, but he wasn't really able to have a great afternoon. He still finished ninth, but he only got 28 points, so he rounds that last. Unfortunately, his delay pick, he's so great at jumping damn restarts, but he's never good getting his pick out first, so he has to be dropped to the back again. He probably dicked with his deck lid. So that means, Thermite, you go ahead and pick the first for Indianapolis. Who are you going with?
Well, I'm going with the driver who Kane just assumes he's going to win no matter what, and that's Kyle Busch.
Fuck Goodyear!
So I kind of stole his pick there. But obviously no one wants him to win. But I think he will. He won the last two. I can't even remember any of the races before that. Indy's not going to be that exciting, but I think Kyle's going to win. Next.
All right, I'm go next. And, well, after Jeff Gordon retired, this guy now leads all active drivers with wins at Indianapolis, and that is Jimmy Johnson.
Damn it, King!
I remember watching Jimmy win his first Brickyard 400 in '06 in person, and who says he can't get number 5? I mean, he finished third in this race a year ago, and, well, he's been pretty fast at these downforce tracks, so Jimmy Johnson for the win.
All right, I'm up next, and my pick, I don't really want to have to jump on this damn bandwagon, but the guy's just fast everywhere he goes. You just don't screw with this type of momentum, and like he's good at places that he wouldn't normally be good at because they just have speed right now. Kyle Larson, he's gonna come out, he's gonna win the Brickyard. He's gonna kiss the yard of bricks. His son's gonna look at the bricks and go, "Fuck you." And that's pretty much it, man. They're gonna get it done. They've got the speed. They're good on power tracks, and he usually likes to win those 2-mile tracks. Even though this isn't exactly 2 miles, it's still big enough. So it's big, it's bold, it's for Kyle Larson. And Damani's pick will be right here. 20. Well, that wraps up another episode of Behind the Wall. We hope you liked it, but you probably didn't listen, so you can't like it if you don't listen. So listen, you bastards. I'm talking to people that won't ever be able to hear me. That's right. That's what I just did. So I'm going to go cry myself to sleep now. But for Damani HT, he is a big supporter of plants. For Kane Jr. 88, he was lost, but now he was found. Still drunk, but that's Kane. We love him anyways. For Thermite 917, who's really looking forward to rooting for Cody Coughlin and Eldora this week. And for myself, Middleburg 1, or Junior Nation 5788, or Pro Bowl 43. This has been Behind the Wall, presented by Perky Jerky. You've been Behind the Wall, and thank you for listening.
Good time.
Okay, fine. Fuck you.
We should form a band.
Totally. We'll name it Wall the Behind.
Kane and the Skadoodles.
Kane and the Skadoodles.
We also know that Nick can only win regular season championships. Damani comes restarts. Tyler, he spins out of a pit exit at Pocono.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, we all have our thing, and we gotta
Yeah.
laugh at ourselves sometimes.
We absolutely do.
Yep. He sped under green in the first green. Oh well, he sped on. Oh God, I'm getting mixed up here. But the son of a bitch.
So,
Gotta-
to the rear,
gotta
Damani.
pull out your. He's got to pull out his pick.
He's got to pull out his pick.
Like
That's what I want you to do. Pull out your pick.
he's a pick slinger.
He's a pick slinger.
Well, actually, he's not because he's not picking.
Exactly. He's not a pick slinger. He needs to get his pick. He needs to stop diddling with his pick and just pick already. What a pick.
And I messaged him right after the race too this time, so
I
no
know.
excuses.
He's such a pick hole. Anyhow.
But we must move
What?
on.
I know we must.
So somebody want to introduce the... What the... What?
Oh my God, we are so off track right now.